So another episode of My Hero Academia is in the books, and it is another outstanding episode, I would have to say. This is definitely going to be the meat and potatoes of Season 3 here. Now, so we have, the events of this week, and then next week is going to be the episode that people have been waiting for. Like, if you're an anime only watcher, next week is finally, we're getting to the big shit that's gonna go down. Now, this episode starts off with the continuation of how last episode ended, where Aizawa, Nezu, and then Vlad are having a press conference, and they're kind of being grilled by the reporters about the events that happened at the Forest training camp. And one reporter in particular starts to basically go out of pocket. And he starts really, really grilling Aizawa for allowing these students to use their powers. And then kind of questioning what the worst case scenario might have been for all the students at the training camp, right? Like students dying or being turned over to the side of villains, on and on. Because he specifically mentions how during the sports festival, Bakugo was showing a very violent and aggressive nature. Now, Aizawa here, he stands up very aggressive, and it's a really good scene. I was really liking this. And in the manga, it was really good as well, because Aizawa does not fuck with the media. He hates talking to the media, hates all that shit. That's why we saw that one flashback of how Aizawa got the name Eraserhead, President Mike gave it to him. So we see Aizawa stand up, and Vlad is like, no, don't do it, my boy. Eraser's about to go in. And, he kind of, bows and apologizes. And he kind of gives this really good speech, explaining how, Bakugo, his nature is just, it's his motivation, his ideal to become, the strongest hero, the top hero. And if the villains think, his aggressive nature or violent tendency, whatever you want to say, is an opening for recruiting Bakugo, Aizawa is basically saying they're fucking idiots. And so it cuts right from that, basically directly to Bakugo, kind of talking with the League of Villains. And Nezu actually mentions that, they're working on it. They're trying to follow up on some leads, and they're going to try and get shit done with Bakugo. But, he kind of, he says it in a way they're working tough at it. They're going to try and get it figured out, right? And as it's revealed later in the episode, that's actually just a feint by, the heroes here, by Nezu, who's working with a lot of the pro heroes and the police. They actually already know where the League of Villains hideout is, and then that was just Nezu saying that to kind of catch the villains off guard. I really like how that is done here. Now, many people who really like Bakugo's character, they'll point to two scenes that happen. This scene right here, kind of the continuation of last week's episode, and then something that'll happen maybe towards the end of Season 3 or the beginning of Season 4. I would say likely the end of Season 3 of the anime, as two moments for Bakugo's growth, right, in the series as a character and stuff. Okay. This part is really cool. I like the way Bakugo, he knows he's in a fucked situation, and, he's still thinking about, trying to take out, 2 or 3 of them and escape. He doesn't want to pay no mind to any of their bullshit, nothing. He doesn't want to let them talk. He doesn't want to let them look at him. He just wants to fuck them up and then get out of there, right? So that is really cool. The first time reading this in the manga, I certainly didn't expect Bakugo to kind of just, flip on them so fast like that. So I always will give props to this scene and this kind of, it seemed like the arc was going to be like the Sasuke retrieval arc in Naruto. And then Bakugo does kind of flip it, which is really cool. Now, we get another scene right here, focusing on the police and all of the heroes. We see that there is 2 hero teams that are going to assault both of the warehouses, both of the hideouts that they've kind of coordinated at the same time, right? They have the one, Momo put the tracking device on the Nomu. They're going to attack that hideout. And then, of course, they got the tip of someone having seen Dabi in the abandoned bar. So they're going to go take that hideout as well. They're going to send All Might and his team to the bar because they think that's where they're going to be. And then they kind of think that the what eventually turns out to be the Nomu warehouse, that is kind of a backup option for them. Now, we do see Best Jeanist kind of talking about Bakugo and how like he's predicting that Bakugo, like they're gonna try and recruit him, and Bakugo's gonna be like, "Fuck you," and like start tossing out explosions everywhere, which is exactly how it happened. And like Best Jeanist does touch on Bakugo having done his internship with him previously in season 2. Now, I do have to say, like just seeing all of these heroes kind of talking and mingling, like I really do like Best Jeanist. I think his voice actor was perfect, and like Best Jeanist, like he really does like have like a swag about him, right? Like he's in control. He seems kind of like one of these analytical, almost like Kurama types, like from Yu Yu Hakusho, like one of these smart kind of base characters like that. So already liking what I'm seeing from Best Jeanist. So Shigaraki tells Compress to go ahead and put Bakugo to sleep, and they're gonna do some sort of plan. Like Shigaraki realizes that the police and the heroes are gonna be moving fast on this, so they don't have too much time to just fuck around. And then of course, right at that moment, as Compress is walking up to go try and put, in case Bakugo like in another one of his marbles or like his little pieces, whatever it is, at that moment there's a knock on the door, and it's a police pizza delivery guy, and then boom, All Might busts in on the other side, completely obliterating a wall and knocking Spinner to the ground. And then at this moment, Kamui Woods, who is a character that we saw actually in episode 1, he's able to use his wood to kind of restrict and paralyze all of the different members of the League of Villains, including Dabi. Now, Dabi looks at Wood. He's like, "Wood, get the fuck out of here." And he goes to start using his ability, and Gran Torino kind of gets in there in a second and actually knocks Dabi out before Dabi would have a chance to burn Kamui Woods or try and, free any of the other League of Villains from the wood kind of paralysis that Kamui Woods is using. Now, we see Endeavor is actually still outside with a lot of the police. And he actually mentions to the detective, why does the American get to rush in? And I have to be out here guarding the perimeter. Now, I'm seeing a lot of discussion about this. By saying American, I would say it's very likely he is referring to All Might, because All Might basically was the one who gets the show started into the warehouse, right? Like, he destroys the wall, and, they fly in there. So, again, Endeavor is probably talking about All Might here, especially because, look at All Might's attacks, Delaware Smash, Detroit Smash, all of those different Smash techniques are referring to, you guys get what I'm saying. Now, I heard that in the dub, Endeavor right here actually mentions Edge Shot, but I don't think in the sub that's who he's referring to here. I think it is supposed to be All Might that Endeavor's talking about. But they want Endeavor to be outside, just in case, to help guard the perimeter. Now, one thing that's very interesting here. Now, this is not spoilers because it's never really been, talked about. There's something in the manga regarding this. But Endeavor is kept out of the bar, right? Remember, Dabi is in the bar. Now, in a second here, Gran Torino actually goes over the real names of all the villains that are in the bar, but suspiciously, the only one whose name he does not give is Dabi. So it's kind of like Endeavor was kept out of the bar, and then, we get all the names for everyone in there except for Dabi. It really does seem as though there probably is a thing there with Dabi being Todoroki's brother and Endeavor's son. Like, I do think that's a very realistic thing that could be kind of... It's like, it's set up here and earlier in the forest when Dabi is able to get away, but it's not like it's explicitly stated, so I really, really do like that fact. Now, we see Deku and his group. They kind of arrive at the warehouse where Momo has the tracker in the Nomu. They kind of sneak around the side, and they're able to use a night vision camera that Kirishima bought that was very expensive to see in the warehouse, and they do see Nomus are in there. And at that moment, the other hero team arrives, and Mount Lady actually, goes into her gigantic form and basically destroys the warehouse, allowing the second hero team to kind of get in here. Gang Orca, Best Jeanist, Tiger, they're all able to get in and subdue all of the Nomos almost instantly. So, like, right off the bat, both hero teams have completely shut the League of Villains down. Like, you know, Shigaraki wants like the warp fucker to bring those Nomus, you know, to the bar, but they're already all subdued by Best Jeanist, Gang Orca, you know, Mount Lady, so there's no concern for that. So, like, it at this point, it's completely done. Like, the heroes have, like, shut off every avenue that Shigaraki can possibly use to escape or do anything here. Now, one thing that's really big that we actually see is a little bit of backstory with Shigaraki here, of him as a child, like, crying, and we see All For One sort of walk up and, like, you know, kind of talk about, like, the problems of the Hero Society and how, like, they didn't help Shigaraki and stuff. Like, you know, just kind of setting up how Shigaraki would start to think later. At this point, we see, like, a different type of warp start to activate, and Nomu show up everywhere out of this, like, black goo, this, like, black sort of, like, goo teleportation type thing, and there's Nomus everywhere outside, in the place, so now there's going to be a full-scale battle. It cuts back to the other warehouse, and Tiger has Ragdoll. Remember, Ragdoll was kidnapped from the forest arc before, and he kind of has her. They managed to rescue her. She was in the Nomu warehouse, and Tiger mentions that there's something weird going on with her, and then this is when All For One walks up and mentions that he liked her quirk, and he wanted to take her quirk, and also mentions that after what happened to him, he lost a lot of the quirks that he had stocked up. Because remember, All For One, his power is that he can take a quirk, and then he can also give people quirks. So, as he's, like, walking in to say this, Best Jeanist, like, completely uses his power and, like, kind of, like, starts crushing All For One, like, with his suit, because he's able to control the fibers and clothes and shit. And, like, I love how Mount Lady is like, what if it's a civilian? And Best Jeanist is just like, bitch, that shit don't matter right now. Chill. We can't let an enemy gain the advantage on us. And, like, we see All For One just sort of flexes, and a giant explosion happens, and that's how the episode ends. So, next fucking week, is where shit is about to go down. We are going to see what our boy All For One is capable of. We saw him sort of just, you know, clear out the field, because after the end credits, there is actually another scene that happens where we see the warehouse and the surrounding area is completely destroyed. It's like All For One used like a Dragon Ball Z, like, you know, Majin Vegeta final explosion, basically. Now, we don't really get any news of how the heroes are doing. Like, all we know is that All For One is standing there in a, basically in a crater, and we see Deku kind of have a flashback, because they were there on, like, the side of the warehouse, and he has a flashback reminded of when All Might said that Deku would probably have to eventually face off with All For One, and Deku realizes who this is. It's All For One, because he mentions Shigaraki and Otomura is finally starting to grow up, and these fucking heroes had to come do this shit now. So that sets it up right there. The episode ends, Deku realizes this All For One. We'll see what happens next week. Yo, next week? Chill. Alright? Woo! Y'all are not ready. Yo, let's just hurry up and get to next week, bro. Next week's episode of My Hero is about to be crazy!